Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. For those of you watching on YouTube on the actual Monday, videos at the bottom of the screen. I've been playing mostly Horizon Zero Dawn, Zelda this last week, so I've been very preoccupied with both of those games. It also hasn't been too much to talk about. 3.55A, like Animal Weapon, not really much of a video. Proto Ultima, obviously not much of a video. So we're waiting for 3.55B really to do Diadem videos so we could talk about that, or at least give a general overview of how the Diadem, the remake, if it's actually going to work, plus the Part 2 story. Luckily, we have our shows for State of the Realm all planned out. And don't forget, PAX East is coming up this weekend, Saturday at 12:30 at PAX East. It's Eastern because it's Boston time, obviously. I have a meet and greet at the Twitch booth. I'll be there from 12:30 to 2. So if at any point you're at PAX East, you're attending, come to the Twitch booth, come to the meet and greet section, and I will be there waiting for you. Be there or be a 1, 2, 3, 4 sided shape. And then I put my hand out like 5. That was because I was tapping the square on the... It was a square joke, all right? It was a square joke, not a Square Enix joke. It was a square joke, all right? But anyway, because of that, again, same deal. This week's going to be super busy. I won't be streaming on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, at most 2 hours, probably less. And then we'll be back to normal schedule next Monday. Anyway, we've got a shit ton of questions on the forums. I've done the news announcements, so let's get started. All right, a lot of questions this week, so same deal as last week. One question, I'm rolling through. All right, first question. Ahaps have a nice patch day that, according to the dates of this posting, didn't happen yet. Chosen by Fate, the Power of Life or Death Ninja question. One roulette with only 2 instances. I've answered that question a million times, so let's avoid that one because it was a roulette, as you guys can see. Chosen by Fate, what is your favorite type of Fate? The ones I never need to do, aka all of them. I don't really care for Fates. I mean, things like Coral Regina and Proto Ultima are cool, like when the expansions first come out, but they're so quickly abandoned. If I had to actually label one Fate that I felt was done well, the Fate chain, is probably Darkscale. But the reward is at least something that people were trying to use while they were leveling up the pink belt. And I'd like to see, you know, larger, more difficult Fates that have some sort of gear reward while you're leveling up more frequently, just because I feel like it's a super underutilized feature that they could be doing. But I generally do my best to avoid Fates. Please avoid Fates. Anyway, on to the next one. All right, next question. Hey, Haps, place bonus comment here. Well, you can't type place bonus comment here and then not place the bonus comment there. That's just not how it works. Is there any chance we get a new gathering or crafting job in Stormblood? 0% chance of that. They would have told us already if we were going to be seeing one of those. The reason, I mean, there's not really many crafters or gatherers that people think of. Like archaeology is one people consider as a gathering job. Engineer is like a crafting job that people consider. And somewhere down the line we may see that. It's like engineer when Garlemald, you know, when we go to Garlemald or we go to Ilsabard is a much more likely thing to, you know, combat Magitech with Magitech. But until then, yeah, you're probably not going to see any new crafters or gatherers for quite some time. All right, next one. Howdy, Mr. H. Sounds like it's almost like Mr. J, but it's Mr. H, you know? That's okay, I'm the Joker. New timer here, so I have a bonus of 1 full month of free 3 lines. Free 3 lines. Full Wondrous Tales. Thank you. Will you be playing Zodiac Age? Yes, I just played Final Fantasy 12 again last year for Count Up, but I deliberately avoided playing the Zodiac Edition because I didn't want to play the Zodiac Edition last year and then play Zodiac Age again this year. So yes, when July comes around, once Final Fantasy 14 stuff is a little calmer, which hopefully it is towards Zodiac Age's release date, I will definitely be doing some Zodiac Age on stream. Next one. Hi, Mr. Happy. These are quick questions, by the way. Let's keep them going. I check out your videos a lot. State of the Realm Mondays, occasional guides, but I haven't asked a question before. So since we have Red Mage coming, have some refresh. Horrible 11 joke. I'm sorry. I'm glad you're sorry. Most people don't apologize. Have a free pass on the next relic step of your choice in the expansion. I want to try Samurai as soon as I can, but I main a tank in my free company, so I'll be taking my Dark Knight through the story to 71st, but you mentioned using leaves to preemptively level, so to speak. It's possible to prepare leave turn-ins for a starting boost for Samurai, so it is not possible to do the leave start for Samurai. Leaves have to be completed and handed in on the job they were accepted on. So for your Dark Knight, you could feasibly do it, but you couldn't go back and prepare level 50 leaves for your Samurai, because you need to activate the leaves on Samurai. So if anything, just do that for your Dark Knight, and then for Samurai, Palace of the Dead is almost definitely how people are going to be doing the 2 new DPS jobs. Next one. Hello, mister. I hope you have time for this question. I have time for a question. So, oh, it looks like it's quite involving Record Keeper. What do you think of my main Record Keeper team? So, first of all, I've only been playing Record Keeper again for the last, like, 3 months-ish. So, my judgment on your main is going to be super, like, not educated. Like, I haven't been around for, like, all the stuff that's happened in the last year and a half. So, this is going to be a lot of thought process missing here, but I'll give it a shot. So Tyro, OSB, BSB, burst number 2. So the fact that you don't have Tyro's, looks like you don't have Tyro's wall. That immediately makes him a little bit less effective. One of the main things about Tyro is he's really good at nightmare dungeons and his wall. I mean, the fact that he's one of only 2 characters in the game that has a wall effect is one of his biggest things. You say burst number 2 reduces defense and yeah, so that's, I mean, you've got some decent utility here. You've got what looks to be the equivalent of a shout, his OSB. That's his I can't remember what it's called. I know what it is, but I don't remember what it's called. His BSB is okay, and his burst 2, I mean, those are all fine, but Tyro's stats are generally lower than a lot of people, so you bring him for things like that and for the wall. If you get the wall, that's good. It's level 99 too, so that's always good. Ferris, Super Soul Break. I don't know much about Ferris's character. Burst number 1, reduced damage. Burst number 2, reduced attack. I mean, those sound fine. Those don't sound particularly bad by any means. Garnet, SSB, BSB, Lightning Holy, Burst Door, 100%. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with this. Delita, you only have the base Soul Break, which is kind of unfortunate, but the Blink on Party is good, and Realm, 1 instant large cures are good. There's a lot of defense here. I guess I would need to know what your hones are like as well, but there's nothing wrong with this party. As long as you're beating stuff, that's all that matters. But, I mean, getting the wall for Tyro, since I notice you don't have a wall effect here, that would be priority numero uno. That's the longest question so far. Let's move on to the next one. Hi, Happy. Hello. Why'd you say hello back? Did you... What? Why'd you say... Okay. Is it too early or too late to try and find or build a static for Stormblood? So most static building for the new expansion will happen in May and June. And that's because people are trying to get ready, they're trying to get excited, they're making sure they have people to play with, to do dungeons, to do the new trials, primals, raids. People are trying to get those parties together towards the end of Heavensward, so that when they go into Stormblood, they have them already. So it's not too late, but it might even be too early. Like, you could do it now, you just have to make sure people are going to be motivated over the next couple of months to creating synergy. Whereas you can always do that later, closer to the expansion launch, and people are going to be generally more excited to do that around that time. On to the next one. Greetings, Honorable Sir Happy. First time askers of a bonus of 1 culinary recipe of choice served to you IRL. I don't even know what most of the culinary recipes are, but something that involves a fillet would be preferred. I have some talks about Astrologia with quite a few people, and some people believe it's a job on its own, while others believe it has part-time magic mixed in. What are your thoughts on the probability of time mage becoming a job one day? 0. Thematically, a time mage, if you're placing time as your primary factor, then you need to have a full arsenal of time-related abilities. Things like haste, things like gravity. Some people put gravity in time magic. Sometimes they put it in other magic. You need slow, heavy. I guess things like the buff timers like Astrologian has. I don't know that you could realistically build an entire job around time magic. I mean, you could make time mage a healer and almost make it like you're turning back time. Like, one of your major heals is reverse all the damage that's been done to this character, or reset all of this person's buffs, character, their health, their MP, send it back 5 seconds. Like, that's about the only thing I can imagine that time mage does that would be like super crazy unique. That would make sense in the game, but I don't think they'll ever just take time mage as its own and make it a job in Final Fantasy XIV. We've seen inklings of time magic in Hildebrand and Alexander. I just don't see it being something we could do per se. And on to the next one. Hi, Mr. Happy. First time poster, so I have a bonus of a homemade treat of your choice. I first want to say thank you for doing the guides you do. Without them, I probably would not have cleared some of the content I have as smoothly as I did. So again, thank you. Thank you for watching them. And sorry there haven't been many of them lately. My question in regards to some all hard mode. My husband pointed this out to me and I was finally able to catch it. What is Slashing Wind? It appears on the enemy list, but nothing is targetable and with that name. So looking at this, Slashing Wind is probably the aura that forms around the boss that actually makes him do his enhanced abilities. It's not super common for them to use an enemy like that. I think the last time there was something that was legit untargetable that was strictly used as a buff to the target. There's probably other times, but turn 2 back in first coil, there's a node that's untargetable the entire fight, and it's just there to keep you in combat between fights. This one is probably just a means of seeing his like enhanced state, this for alligator boss. I would see if it's not there at the start of the fight and check to see if it's there after he's gone into a super mode, and to see if that's actually what Slashing Wind is. Next one, hello Mr. Happy. A continuation of the question from last week, and no typos this time. Maybe. Listen, I'm no better with it, so don't worry. Yoshida mentioned long ago that if Samurai was to be a tank, he would make it a Shogun. Is there any possibility to see an original tank, Shogun, in the far future? I can't say no because I'm not him, but I doubt they are going to make Samurai and then a separate job as Shogun. I just don't see it happening. He actually said that at the North American Fan Festival, that exact quote you're referring. Wait, actually, I'm sorry. No, he said that at a Japanese Fan Festival. He made the Shogun comment. That wasn't even that long ago. It was actually a very recent thing that he said. So I don't see him releasing another, basically, Samurai, just renamed as Shogun, as a tank. Alright, on to the next one. Hello, Mr. Happy. I'll be in SoCal March 7th through 12th. Wanna hang out? Just kidding. That would be creepy, because I'm going to PAX East anyway. I'm there for work and one at the time. Anyway, my question is, have you tried, do you like cold brew coffee? Yeah, I would be in. First of all, this would be the weirdest way to ask me, and I would say no out of principle. Second of all, what's it called? I'm going to be at PAX East, so literally not possible. Anyway, have you tried, do you like cold brew coffee? I don't like cold brew coffee for 2 reasons. One is on its own, with no milk, no sugar, which, remember, is how I drink my coffee. It's too bitter. Like, I mean, obviously, by making it cold, you're sort of bringing out the bitterness, but it's too bitter. I don't enjoy it that way. As for the... Oh, you know what? By the way, going back to the last question, Slashing Wind is when he does the slashing attack, and it summons the wind thing that explodes. My chat, since I'm live streaming this, just mentioned it. When he does the forward slashing attack when he's buffed, it creates a bomb right in front of him. That's probably what Slashing Wind is. Sorry, getting back on this. But then when it has milk and sugar, it still doesn't taste better to me than a normal coffee, and I don't like milk and sugar in my coffee. Like, I can drink like a specialty coffee occasionally, like a white chocolate mocha or something like that. But as soon as it's cold brew, it loses its flavor to me. It's not better for me. I personally think it's worse, but that's just me. On to the next one. Hi, Mr. Happy, long-time watcher, first-time asker. Have a bonus of full hearts on all the Zloey NPCs. So far, we only have 1 NPC for Zloey, and that story is actually going really well. I want to do a video about Zloey, because I'm actually enjoying the feature. I just wish I could use it more frequently. So, you've got a question roulette. So we have the world is your clam, beyond the storm, and gill not gills. Let's do gill not gills. Let's see what this one is. How the heck are we supposed to breathe underwater? So, you're not going to like this answer. So the reason why our mounts can breathe underwater, we can breathe underwater, the reason it was given on stage at FanFest was, it's a world full of magic. So we use magic to do it. It sounds even worse when they say it out loud, because like, magic! But no, like, literally magic. That is the answer to your question. On to the next one. We are burning through these questions. Excellent. Hello, Happy. Heller. Like, never mind. First time asking questions, I have a bonus of a Zervin party and no comms. What? Hey, unless you want that real prize as my Zervin bird that only took me 2 runs for. I hate you. I attempted to bold the question a short amount of time. Thank you. Is it... Okay, okay, I see what's bolded, and unfortunately it does not help me answer the question. Now, the question is, I main a Scholar, and I've always noticed with an item level 265, I'm having trouble keeping a Dark alive in endgame content. As a Scholar, I always hear, oh, it's all because you're a Scholar, you should be playing Astro or even White Mage. Dude, Scholar is God, alright? So I know you might not be... Is it because I'm just not doing my abilities on proper cooldowns, or are Dark naturally more squishy? So, Darks being more squishy has been a false rumor since Dark Knight was originally released, because a lot of Dark Knights didn't know how to play the job when it first came out. Now, theoretically, Dark Knights should be better now, the ones that have been playing longer, but there are still plenty of Dark Knights out there that either, you know, play without grit and don't use proper cooldown rotation because they saw somebody else do it, so it's like, whatever, that's how it's fucking done. There are those that use grit but never use a defensive cooldown, and then there are just people who don't know what they're doing. So, I notice that more frequently with Dark Knights than Warriors and Paladins. So it is possible you're just playing with one of those Dark Knights that saw other people not using Grit and decided not to use Grit, but didn't know how to use cooldowns properly. Obviously, without seeing you play, it's hard to tell, but Dark Knights should not be any harder to keep up than other tanks. They should not be. There's no reason for it unless they are just playing improperly. So I'm going to say it's the Dark Knight's fault, but I can't say that for certain, unfortunately. All right, next one. Hello, Mr. Happy, and greetings from Detroit. Yo, love it. 2 quick questions. So I'm running my static through A9 Savage, and we cleared. When to pull up your guide for A10 Savage, I found nothing because I did not make one. So I think I touched on this last week or the week before. My desire to do Savage guides has diminished greatly because there's a very negative stigmatism around sort of the end game guides at this point. There's not enough people doing the end game content that video guides are as popular as they once were. And on top of that, there's always a new strategy being formed. As you outgear the fight, you have to update the guide. You pretty much, if you're committing to releasing a guide, you almost have to commit to releasing multiple guides. A text guide can be updated. It's very easy to say, hey, with this item level or with this much gear, you can skip this mechanic, or, if it gets to this percentage, there's these mechanics that happen if your DPS is low. Like, I'm not going to sit there and explain that in A11 Savage, as an example, there's a GA 100 in the first phase. There's mechanics that you can skip. There's mechanics you may never see at all. There's mechanics I probably have never seen in both A10 and 11 Savage. When the last time I had to do the, what's it called, in the very first phase, there's like I think it's a tank buster you skip or something else. You can skip like 2-3 mechanics in the first like 15% of A10 Savage. I don't even remember what happens in that percentage anymore. And that was a very quick transition to go from having to do that mechanic to not having to do that mechanic. So unfortunately, guide creating is just not as exciting as it once was in a video format. As a text format, I think those formats are really going to thrive going forward for Savage guides with video assistance. But as a primary video guide, I don't feel there's enough demand to create a structured full-on guide. What I will be doing come expansion, however, is on each of the Savage and the hardcore fights. I still plan to do primals the way I've always done them, by the way, even though those still have similar issues. I plan to do a walkthrough of the fight. You see our healer, using this and this on this part. It's going to be slower. It's not really going to be a structured guide. Hey, boss does this, do this. Boss does this, do this. It's going to be more of a, let's watch a kill, analyze what's happening, discuss what's happening on screen, and our thought process, and what could be done differently, what could be done better. Think of it more like that as the guides going forward. Second question, and I know I said I wasn't going to do 2, but that should have been a quick answer, and I made it not one. Do you enjoy it more when each role gets a new job? I did answer that last week. I've discussed the whole Samurai Red Mage thing a lot recently, so I am going to just move on to the next question. All right, next question. Happy Monday, Mr. Happy. First poster with a dabbling of a pâtissier job outside of the game designer job with a blueberry remix cake is a first-time present remix from a fruit cake that is now edible, nutritious, and delicious. I don't even know what I just said out loud. I just said words. Speaking of jobs, all the hype surrounding Samurai Red Mage is something I noticed. Maybe I just haven't read enough of the dev notes. But I find it odd that only Disciples of War and Magic getting actual jobs, and Disciples of Hand and Land only get classes. Well, to be fair, Disciples of Hand and Land haven't received a job. Like, they have job stones now for specialists, but they've always been a class because the game was originally built back in 1.0 on the class system. It was classes, and then eventually in 1.0, they released jobs once Yoshi P took over. So then they never released jobs for them. So that's why the class job system even exists. If it wasn't for 1.0 and them needing to take the broken-ass class job system of 1.0 and put it into a Realm Reborn just to make sure they could actually complete the job on time, we probably would just have everything as a job or everything as a class. And I answered the question about new jobs soon, so I don't think we'll see them anytime soon. No, the answer before was new Disciples of Hand and Land. This question is jobs for Disciples of Hand and Land. I don't think we will, but if it ever makes its way over to a just job system, no class job system, I expect that they'll either have their own designation or they won't be called classes or jobs, they'll just be called crafters, gatherers. Alright, next question. Hola, Mr. Happy. Second time asking, so no bonus. Unless this is extreme, in which case a bonus of Cloud Strife Triple Triad card sent to your in-game mailbox. I've always had a life goal of getting the Cloud Strife Triple Triad card and then discarding it because I don't like it. Anyways, my question last week is Geomancer was answered as so well, so I think I'll ask another class-related question. Possible spoilers, so I'm gonna... Oh, it's 3.4 spoilers. No, we're not doing the 3.4 spoiler thing. Like, as soon as I do spoiler cast for a patch, like, I'm okay with talking about it. There are 3.4 spoilers in what I'm about to say, though, so, those of you, keep it in mind. I guess I'll just do the normal stuff. There you go. When I do this again, spoilers are over. Okay, so Alice A used a super move I believe is called the Ultima Blade during your brawl with the Warriors of Darkness. Do you think she was using Red Mage job gear? So I've actually answered this question before, and the answer is no. So the way the Scions work, the Scions don't follow a traditional class job system. They learn techniques and abilities that are unique to them. It's why Y'shtola, when she was just a conjurer, could use the Astrologian Shield. It's why you see Thancred go from having a gladiator moveset to a rogue moveset to trying to learn ninja skills to once being a bard. Because they just pick up skills and go. You can't immediately look at any of the Scions and go, they are a job. All she did was and also, let me also rephrase another thing. She also summoned the sword out of her book. That's not how red magic works. Red magic requires the crystal medium in order to pull in both ether from yourself and the ether from the area around you and combine it into a new type of ether, red magic. She doesn't do that. She just pulls a sword that's made purely out of ether, out of a book. It's an incantation, and she uses that as a regular sword. So all it is super enhanced crazy swordness, and nothing related to Red Mage at all. Oh, spoiler over. Next one. Hey, Mr. Happy, no bonus, but hopefully you'll get a Wondrous Tale sticker for this duty. I got 2-line last week, and then 1-line this week. Didn't get that one. I got the wind-up Thancred. I didn't get the wind-up Fistinian? I don't remember what the other wind-up one I missed was. Anyway, as someone who's always looking for a new challenge, and with the Creator Savage being disappointingly easy, do you have some suggestions of what else could keep me entertained in the game? I always say this about 14. If you are only in 14 to play it for a single aspect, you only like one aspect of MMOs, you will probably never be satisfied with Final Fantasy 14. You need to be willing, or not willing, but you need to personally enjoy more than just one thing. If only hardcore raids are what you're into, you're never going to be satisfied. You can do old stuff at minimum item level. It is pretty fun to do, especially like final coil at minimum item level or second coil at minimum item level, but you're never going to be satiated. And I find that most people who are into hardcore raiding are most of the time not satiated unless it's something that takes an incredible amount of time and it's incredibly exclusive to them. And it's something that they want to be happy that not many other people can do it and they themselves can do it. And you're just never going to be happy with Final Fantasy 14 just for that one thing. Even if I know we have that final secret fight in the odd-numbered patches that is going to be coming out for people who clear the final tier of Savage, but that's not going to be enough for people. I don't think it will. Alright, on to the next one. Hello there, Mr. Happy. Thanks for your recent video discussing the upcoming changes to the battle system in Stormblood. After watching it, I feel like there's still some lingering concerns, and would like your thoughts. You referenced Square talking specifically about skills like Feint and Featherfoot as skills potentially on the chopping block to make room for new skills in Stormblood, but for me as a player, not only are these skills not used, they're not even on my hotbar, and I know many Dragoons and Monks who have removed them as well. My concern is that they intend to make the battle system simpler with skill reduction and may actually make it more complicated for those of us who have already removed the skills from our hotbars, and so we'll end up with a net increase in skills on the bar and more buttons to push. So keep in mind, they don't actually, the reason why they're looking at these skills is to remove them or consolidate their effects into other abilities. So the big thing is they're clearing hotbar space from the less used abilities. Now that's fair because obviously getting rid of unused skills and then adding in new useful skills doesn't reduce skill bloat, which is why they're looking at the major players in your rotation as well and seeing where things are redundant. Like I wouldn't be surprised if I don't know. I'm trying to think of abilities. Like, I'm really, really thinking they're going to tone down on the number of global cooldowns you press as part of your main rotation. Obviously, Black Mage wouldn't see much of a change there, but I have a feeling we're going to see some degree of consolidation on the main global cooldown skills for certain jobs. The ones that specifically have a lot to press, looking at things like Dragoon or Warrior having to keep, having to have all of those different abilities, depending on whether you're Deliverance or Defiance on your hotbar. Obviously, people have macros for that now, but not everyone uses the macros. Not everyone knows to use the macro system, so for most people, it's a shit ton of abilities. I think that we're going to see some of the major skills toned down, as well as the less used skills like they've been saying. On to the next one. Hey there. Hi. I have 2 questions for you today. Feel free to skip the first one if you have stated it earlier in the video. I will do that. Alright, as an avid League of Legends fan, who is your favorite champion? So a lot of people don't know that I'm a fan of League of Legends, competitive League of Legends, but I don't actively play League of Legends anymore. Just to be clear, because some people are going to be like, Happy plays League, what tier are you in? Oh, what's your... No, I haven't played since Season 2 and I lost my account, and whoever hacked it or whatever it got acquired changed all the personal information, couldn't prove it was my account, couldn't get it back. Luckily, hadn't spent a dime on that fucking thing, so didn't mind, but no way I'm grinding level 30 again. Who is my favorite champion? That is a tough fucking question. For a long time, it was Morgana, because nothing's more frustrating than getting hit by a max range bind and being stuck there for God knows how fucking long. Nowadays, when I think of a champion I fucking love, it's Vel'Koz. I don't know what it is. Ever since Vel'Koz came out, it's just when I watch Vel'Koz play, I'm always just waiting for the fucking laser beam to come out. I fucking love the laser beam. Maybe it's just I like laser beams. I don't know. But, and also Vel'Koz as his story as a, consuming for knowledge kind of thing is also very badass to me. On to the next one. Hello, Happy. First time posting, so I have a bonus of what I hope is an interesting question. That's not a bonus. That's what you're here for in the first place. If that doesn't work, I bequeath unto you cookies. Thank you for bequeathing. Anyway, so with Stormblood coming up and everyone getting hyped over new areas, job skills, I feel everyone has pushed something to the back of their mind. Power creep. I haven't. I talk about it all the fucking time. Think about level 50 jobs. Tanks had, what, 10, 15k HP? Did tanks have 10 to 15k HP? I don't even remember. Maybe Warriors. I think I remember the Warrior eventually breaking 10k. I thought most tanks had closer to like 8k or something. I don't remember. Well, Paladin and then Warrior without Defiance. I don't remember, honestly. And so DPS numbers have gone like 2 to 3 times as well. Well, that makes sense. I mean, our item level has gone up, has doubled, basically, since the expansion. Slightly more than doubled. And our DPS has gone from about 400 or 500 on average. Some people I've never had a monk who did 600, to about, I guess, like most people, if you're at max item level, expect you to do like, I guess like 2.2 to 2.5. So it's almost gone up by 5 times as far as I'm concerned. Power creep is obviously always an issue. I don't feel like power creep isn't going to be an issue in Stormblood. I feel like in 5.0 they're going to have to address power creep. But I eventually stopped concerning myself so much with the numbers. Yes, the numbers get ridiculous, but at the same time, the numbers are almost just like the individual numbers of your abilities don't end up mattering because it's up against a monster that's adequately balanced for your HP level. It just looks ridiculous, but functionally, it is almost no different or matters for nothing because you're just still being put up against enemies that are based around those numbers that you're able to generate at all. I do think we'll see an item squish or a power squish at some point, though. I definitely think that. All right, on to the next question. I see who's asking me the question, but that doesn't mean you get to not say hello. And because I know who this is, asshole. Anyway, question. If you could have one global Twitch emote from your sub-emotes and Hap laugh, which emote would it be? Man, that is a tough one. Casual is a really good one. What else is a really good one? Not the high five. Not the facepalm. Everyone's got facepalm. The please one, the Hulk one. I think casual, Dwayne, and what's the other one? And Joyzy are like the really good ones. A is also a really good one, but the finger pistols is a little bit less unique than it once was. I think Dwayne or casual would probably be the 2 best ones to make a global emote of any of them. Which, to be honest, none of my emotes really look good as global emotes. Global emotes just, I don't know, I feel like mine don't resonate with what a global emote kind of is, if that makes any sense at all. Oh my god, this is, okay, this is a, and the question is not bolded. Alright, so this is going to be a fun one. Dear Mr. Oh, it's actually a letter, because you started it as Dear Mr. Happy. Oh man, you've been thanked one time though, so now I'm kind of curious. I've been recently working on healers. I noticed a couple things have been bugging me. Want to hear your thoughts as healers are my main. White Mage had the most class-oriented skills, Gutted, which I've commented on in recent weeks. I received a way to get more mana. I feel the exchange was not equal. We look at the Sinistry and Lustrate. White Mage has a large heal, which is Benediction. The skill is buggy. Yeah, nothing like popping Hollow Ground and Benediction, and the tank's still dying, and both of them going on cooldown. Fantastic. It tells the player that it's instant, but quite the opposite. Yeah, it has an animation that is not instant. It just doesn't have a cast time, is what it's trying to say. But they need to fucking line that they need to make that animation, or that effect, instant. Stop relying it on the animation. New skills, I find myself doubting White Mage will ever come to heal, defense being optional. They specifically mentioned that the healers and tanks, they understand the lack of balance between all of them, White Mage and Paladin specifically. So they'll be adjusting it. So expect quite a few changes to pop up with White Mage and for some of their new skills to kind of go back and adjust the old skills, I feel. On Astro Skull, I never had mana issues, constantly playing on heal. Yeah, so basically just asking about the imbalance of healers. Yeah, I mean, it's an imbalance, and they said they're going to adjust those imbalances going into the expansion. So we'll have to wait and see. There's not even thoughts to have on it. That's just a fact. And yes, White Mage and Paladin could still perform fine. I say this every time. But objectively, they're worse than the other tanks and healers. I'm just saying. So, yeah, we'll definitely see some degree of change and adjustment going into the expansion. On to the next one. Hello. Hi. This week, I grant you another cute, cuddly, and furry kitty so Aloha can have a command. Dude, Aloha, I think, would fucking punch that cat in the face. He's pretty protective of his area. So you have multiple questions. I unfortunately cannot answer 5 questions all at once. And I see some of these are a little bit different. So I'm going to take, let's see here. Question number question number 4 I answered at the beginning of last week's Mondays with Mr. Happy. So I'm going to just go with question number 1. I'll just make it basic. Or question number 1. Do you think they should ever implement rewards based off how many achievement points we have in 14? I know so many people who don't really look at points, let alone try and get more points simply because there's really no incentive. That's been achievements since the beginning of time. When the Xbox first came out, my friend said, and I asked my friend, what is this? And they said, achievements. And I said, cool. You get points? Yeah. Cool. What can you spend the points on? Nothing. Then what do? They tell me how many achievements I've gotten. But that's it? Yeah. So why are you getting them? Because I can. What the fuck is the point of this? And then, of course, in our case, MMOs, individual achievements have their own rewards. I don't think they'll ever give us a reward other than maybe an achievement for getting enough achievement points. Like the over 9,000 achievement. There's an achievement for over 9,000 in our game, I believe. I don't think it gives you the title over 9,000, but it should. Is that? No, that's World of Warcraft, isn't it? Do we have an over 9,000 achievement? I feel like we do, but I don't think we... No, that's World of Warcraft that has the over 9,000. We need an over 9,000 achievement right now, and it needs to say, is over 9,000 as the title. That's what we need as a reward for our achievement points. On to the next one. With the thank you for saying hello, by the way. Hello to you too. With the introduction of Samurai, we have more slashing DPS than any other physical source. Do you think the optimal composition will be Sam, Ninja, Dark Knight Warrior, and Red Mage? By the way, for Red Mage's physical damage, expect it to not actually be physical damage. Expect Red Mage's sword to probably do completely magical damage. Just because consistency. Also, I answered this last week. I fully anticipate the complete removal of the slashing, piercing, and blunt debuffs going into the expansion. I feel like at this point, because they're just picking jobs based on like demand and fantasy or whatever not, they're clearly not placing any sort of real emphasis on the balance that those effects bring to the game, or the imbalances that they bring to the game. I have a feeling they're going to completely remove those specific debuffs from the game as part of their consolidation. So, yeah, if that's not the case, shit's going to get bad real fast. On to the next one. Hey there, Haps. First-time askers have a bonus of 1 month of Good Duty Finder pugs. That's good. That's not real. Anyway, so I've heard some concerns about Samurai sharing gear with Monk and how they're not sure how they'd look because of the aesthetics. My question is there anything in the way of giving gear look different based on your job? So that technology is probably doable, and I think in fact, it's been done in a lot of Korean MMOs, where gear looks different even based on gender. You know how the Korean MMOs work. You know. So if they could do it based on gender, you could easily do it based on job and a code theory standpoint. But I doubt they will. It's not in Final Fantasy 11, and it's a horrible example. Monk, Samurai, and Ninja all shared a fair portion of their gear. So I personally don't see it as too much of an issue, but I have a feeling that the gear sets going forward may be designed less like, so think about Bard at level 50. Think about the friggin' multicolored, you know, really weird looking gear sets that were just like, what the fuck? If they ever released another ranged DPS job, they would not wear this shit. Yeah, they don't. They started their gear designs when Machinist came out, started making sense on both Bard and Machinist. And then like any of the exclusive Bard gear had its own look, and the exclusive Machinist gear had its own look. So I expect going forward, it'll probably look a little weird with some of the item sets, but obviously things like the AF1, the AF2 are not going to be going onto a Samurai. And the other sets I don't really think look poor on Samurai. So I think that going forward though from 60 to 70, you may find sets that make a little more sense to be on both jobs. Next question. Happy New Year's, Mr. Happy. 3 months, almost 3 months too late, but you know what? Happy New Year's to you too. I managed by the slim margin to get the Feast Season 3 solo queue mount. Congratulations. I didn't get the light party mount, which I do kind of want. What do you think about the people asking for exclusive items to be not exclusive? You can't have everything. That's my firm belief. You can't have everything. And to be honest, a lot of people who ask for like exclusive stuff to be non-exclusive generally are people who just kind of want it to be non-exclusive. So if they ever wanted to, they could go get it. But I mean, it's true now. It's just you got to play now if you want to get the stuff that's exclusive now. You know, it's like the holiday event stuff, like the lightning event stuff before it was back on the MOG station. Everyone's like, well, it's bullshit. Why don't they just put it in the game all the time? I was like, because then there's no real desire to do it. It's just a new piece of gear. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. But if there's some sort of urgency, people log in, they do the event. It's more exciting, you know, to give people this time-sensitive content. I think that, you know, it's too bad. It's exclusive. It's going to be exclusive. It's always going to happen. So, yeah, it's not going to happen. On to the next one. Hi, Mr. Happy. I hope you had a good weekend, and I hope I make it in time for this week. When was this? This was March. Yeah, dude, you asked like 3 days ago. Of course you made it on time. Long-time watcher, first-time asker, so I have a bonus of a Puppet Master surprise reveal. You're my hero. What is the best healer for PvP Feast? You know what? I haven't PvP feasted, and I haven't done it as a healer in a long time. I'd imagine Nocturnal Astro is still a god-tier healer in the Feast. So I'm going to make that my answer. Nocturnal Astro in particular. And you asked me what time PST do I record this? About 12:30 to 1 PST. So if you're in Europe, the average is about 6 hours plus. So probably be about 7 p.m. your time. Depends on what part of Europe, obviously, but about that time. 1 p.m. PST, roughly. On to the next one. Howdy, Mr. Happy. Killtastic here. Patch 3.55a is upon us, and I'm curious, how do you feel about Zloey and the content that revolves around here? So I get to very briefly comment on that earlier. I think if we see more like this in Stormblood, it's a really good way to make the end game grind for gathering and crafting more fun. Hope you're having a good week. Talk to you next time. So anyway, I think that Zloey is one of those things that could really have been better had it been implemented earlier. Obviously, I think the feature will still work okay going into the expansion. Zloey's story starts off really well. It's not too cumbersome as a weekly thing. I almost wish it was one hand in daily as opposed to 6 weekly, because it upsets me that I basically take care of that on Thursday and I'm done for the week. You know, I'm not a huge fan of more weekly lockouts. And her story, it starts off, it's pretty good. She's an interesting character. Her involvement in Idleshire is an interesting thing. I won't say too much. But the big thing for me is that she's the only character that there's delivery requests for. Obviously, as time goes on, they're going to add more. But the most important thing is the reward structure. It gives blue and red scripts, and the expansion is about to end. If that isn't a sign that blue and red scripts are probably staying around for the expansion, I don't know what is. I don't think we'll see new types of scripts at this point. I think we'll just keep seeing blue and red, and maybe they'll convert all the red to blue or something like that. I don't know. But I think it's very telling that she gives blue and red scripts as a reward. I hope they do it better than they did it at the launch of the expansion for Heaven's Word. I hope they do it better for Stormblood. Next one. Holy shit, I'm almost done with the questions on the forums. Hello, Mr. Happy. This is Final Sim, and welcome to my question on your channel. 1. Does best in slot really matter in Savage and Extreme fights, and why? So best in slot is something that only min-maxers have to ever feasibly deal with. The main reason why most people go for best in slot is it's almost like an achievement. You know, you say, hey, I have the maximum mathematical output possible minus the variable of skill. You know, there's nothing more you could do to improve that character's strength outside of improve your own play. And that's a good milestone to hit. In the earlier main patches, the main reason why you would go for best in slot is to have the best possible gear available going into the next raid tier. The problem with that is that that's good for maybe the very first fight, but now with craftable like raid tier gear, or just prior to raid tier gear with like the 220 and the 250 gear, that's not as important as it once was. So it's also good for like FF log, like speed kills and challenging yourself to those speed kills. But in the grand scheme of things, it matters to very little people, and a lot of people who honestly probably have no fucking need or business to even think about best in slot. They look at it and they go, it could be somebody who is like item level 171, they have no idea what the fuck they're doing, and they see this item level 270 guy, but instead of wearing the best in slot headpiece, he's wearing the other shitty headpiece that he has available. And this guy will, and I've seen it, this guy will make fun of the dude who's like 100 item levels, who's playing way longer, because he's got the shitty headpiece. Like, why the fuck are you wearing that headpiece? Skill speed sucks. Be like, shut your fucking mouth. We're in the etherochemical research facility, all right? It doesn't even matter in here, all right? So shut your mouth, okay? I've seen that happen. So it's ultimately really doesn't have much of a purpose. All right, moving on to the next question. Hey there, Mr. Happy. Long time since I asked you a question, so as a bonus, you get to redesign the Proto Ultima fight any way you want. You don't want that. Trust me, I'm a masochist. You do not, well, maybe you do want that. I don't know. Due to an amount of questions going on this week, I will only ask you one. Thank you. By the time you're recording this, the Static Eye lead will be attempting A9 Savage for the first time. Everyone in the group is excited. I am certainly concerned that a lot of them are nervous about performing well. DPS through Stone Sky C is really good for everyone, and I'm confident with their abilities, but worry that confidence may be a hindering factor with performance. My question is, do you have any advice that helps take the ease off players going through this kind of content? Have you seen or experienced anything of the sort? You know what the easiest way to release stress is? Not what you're thinking. It is to win. Beat the fight. And get through everything, because the problem is it's the fear of the unknown. It's the fear of being judged by your peers. So those are the two factors you gotta tackle. How do you overcome the fear of the unknown? Educate yourself and get some experience. How do you overcome the fear of being judged by your peers? Focus on your play more than anything. You know, practice, put some time in, you know, do things like that. And as soon as you get through it, you go, why the fuck was I nervous about all this shit? It's A9 Savage. The thing's a fucking training dummy as far as I'm concerned. So it's literally just once they get through it, they'll probably be perfectly fine. Next question. Hello, Mr. Happy. I hope I made it in time for this week's Q&A. Today at 7 a.m., you did indeed make it. Here are my questions. I can only do one, so let me do just the first one. From reading the forums, the anticipation for the new residential area seems high. Many discussions and speculations about the moving system have been made. Some players consider it unfair that players with houses will participate in the race to get new housing. What is your take on the problem? I do think it's a little shitty. People who already have houses being able to equally hold priority. But let's be honest, the people who already have houses, if they really wanted to, they would drop the fucking house they have right now to go get a house in the new area. Or they do it in some other fancy way where they make like a second free company. Everyone's invited to the second free company. Then they try to get the house. If they successfully get the new house, they'll destroy the old house. If they don't, obviously this is if they weren't doing a moving system, this is what people would have been doing anyway. But yeah, I think it's kind of shit. I think the people who have never had housing should always have priority on housing. I'm very much a proponent of the one house per account thing that a lot of people have suggested. Or, you know, the ability for, what's it called? The thing is, I can't say that the priority for individuals over free companies or free companies over individuals, it's kind of fucked that both of them are competing for the same types of houses or on the same plots. So it's tough, man. There's no fair way to do it. And, you know, you're either fucking the people who already have the houses and didn't know there was going to be another choice, or you're fucking the people who never had a house because you're letting everyone else participate. So I think it's a little unfair, but the solution is unfortunately just not have the housing system this way. And to make it so free company housing is all together and personal housing is separate and they don't overlap. But even then, that's not how it's done, so you're fucked. All right, we got 2 questions left on the forums, and then I might have time for a question or 2 from the chat. Hey, is Mr. Happy? Second time asker, so no bonus. Okay, so I think I remember you saying you went to college. I did. What did you go to college for? And what was your favorite course? Anyway, I think in one of your videos you said you were in IT or something. I'm in college now for computer science, trying to decide some courses to take. So many sound interesting, it's hard to choose from. I'm thinking about going a major concentration in game development. Fucking cat. I don't know if you guys can hear, my cat is tearing up the carpet behind me. So I'm going to make a cut in the video and go let him the fuck out because he's being rude as shit. Now the cat problem has been dealt with. Moving on. So I went to New Jersey Institute of Technology in Newark, New Jersey, and I went for a major in information technology with a concentration on game development, and I obviously had to take some computer science courses as well. I learned C++, I learned Java. I was in the year I was going to start taking some other programming courses. I learned C#, kind of on my own. Obviously C++, C#, not too majorly different. We worked in Unity, we worked in Flash, we worked in a few other programs. We even did some free shit, like some of the free programs out there that let you make. Like I had one that was for pixel art and just a bunch of other shit. Oh man, and man, it's probably one of the easy. Everyone used to tell me I had the easiest major. Like IT major was probably the biggest joke because all of your courses were pretty straightforward, and the majority of the of information technologies is the information's already out there, and you just have to obtain it. And you don't need to know everything off the top of your head, though with time and experience, you probably will. And for courses, I mean, with computer science, I guess it depends on kind of where you're going. Just what was really weird about game development in college, and something that really turned me off from college, was the number of people who got into game development. Now, keep in mind, this isn't strictly a game development college. And honestly, if you're not going to a college that has a good focus in game development, I wouldn't recommend doing it at all. I'd almost recommend finishing your years, getting your degree, and then going to a different school to focus on game design. One that has more of a focus. The big problem is I think gamers don't know what it means to make a game. I'm really concerned about this because I went into that game design course. I went into a bunch of them, and I went into one where I swear 70% of the people in the major were just kids, and I call them that because of this attitude, who just said, oh, I just want to make games. So do you want to design the levels? Do you want to program the AI? Do you want to, do the storyboarding? What do you want to do? No, I just want to make games. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you to make a game. And, okay, how do I make the game? Well, do you know how to program? No, I don't know how to program. I just want to make games. It's like, you want to make games, but you just don't want to program. Okay. You probably should figure out what you want to do in game development before you come into a course designed to make games, because that's what we're doing. We're making games. I might teach you how to work in Flash or in Unity, but you need to know how to make the games. You need to have some what are your major? I'm in IT. So in IT they teach you C++, they teach you Java, Python. Do you not? Yeah, no, I just took this class. I didn't take it seriously. I didn't really want to program. I'm dead fucking serious that this happened. Like, I was like, I don't want to fucking be here anymore. I had to learn to program. I knew I was going to have to fucking program. It's a game design course. I'm not great at programming, but I fucking went out of my way to learn it, at least, so I could fucking make an array. I swear to God, no one in that class could even make an array minus, like, fucking 5 people. One guy was amazing at making games. Like, he was fucking amazing. He did the art, he did the programming. That guy's fucking going places. That guy was a fucking beast. That guy wanted to be there, and I wanted to be that guy. But holy shit, do I have no faith in colleges that aren't designed for game design. You know what I mean? Like, to actually program and learn game theory and not Matt Pat. Like, design theory on games and programming. Have an idea of why you're going into game development. Don't just go into game development because going into game development sounds cool. That's all I'm asking you. And after that one, we have one final question here on the forums. Hello, Mr. Happy. First time asking, so you're giving a bonus of not being undercut on the market board. I've been doing really good with the market board. I sold all my Fieldcraft Diamond materials today. 40K a pop. Sold 19 of them. And I sold 27 Battlecraft Diamond materials for 14K a piece. I'm feeling it. Now on to my question. As I remember, you used to raid hardcore back in Gordius, even attempting world first, and I'm sure you have used to the potions to push DPS. So my question is, how much DPS increase using potions should it give you if you're playing correctly? The wording is a little weird, but I can deal with that. So I don't know an exact number off the top of my head, but using potions frequently throughout the fight, it's huge. It is a huge amount of item level that you're basically gaining in power. Like, think about this. So, look at the difference in item level. Like, something that has, God, how much stats do the current potions give? How much do super max potions give? Is it like 101 or something like that? Or like 103? I don't even know what super maxes give right now because I haven't done hardcore rating, so I just loaded up on draconians. And I think those give like 81 or some shit. I don't even know. Think about this. The average weapon damage per main stat, 150? Are you kidding me? Jesus fucking Christ. So, moving on to that, let's say that one weapon damage is about 13 dexterity, and you use a supermax potion that gives you 150. 12 weapon damage is a fucking lot of weapon damage worth of damage for that amount of time. So imagine the last time you put on a weapon, right? And you gained 12 weapon damage. If you wanna get a rough idea of this, go find a weapon that does 12 less weapon damage than you do now, approximately that. and go hit something and see what your DPS is. Then take your current item, your weapon, that has the 12 weapon damage more, and then do a test with that weapon. See what the difference is? That's the power that you're gaining over the 15-second. It's a pretty substantial amount. Now, of course, because it has like a 4-ish minute cooldown, 4.5 minutes, you're not keeping that power for a very long time. But you're using it at the most important point, your burst, where all of your outlier damage for your meters is being obtained. These are the things, your openers, your bursts in the middle of the fight, that create these huge peaks that throw off the averages of your DPS, of course, the entirety of the fight, while you maintain it normally throughout the rest of it, with the minor tiny bursts when your things come off the global cooldown. It is pretty fucking substantial. So, yeah, definitely use those. You have no excuse not to, except I have no money. That's about the only excuse you can give me for that one. Anyway, that's the last question over on the Dream Network forum. So it was a pretty long set of questions, but I got through them in a pretty reasonable pace, I feel. So I'm going to do 1 or 2 questions from the Twitch chat, and then we'll call it a wrap for Mondays this week. Let's go, Twitch chat. What do you got? All right, so the first question I got, and it popped up really quick. So Mr. Happy, as a streamer and as someone who plays games for a living, do you feel your appreciation and your ability to judge games has gotten better, or has it suffered? And since you started to since you started streaming till this point, have you ever felt or judged or approached a game incorrectly? So if anything, when you're a streamer who cares a lot about your image to some degree, you approach your criticisms in a different way, but you still criticize in the same way. You first of all need to make it very clear when you have something called franchise bias. Franchise bias would be my bias towards the Final Fantasy series. Like Final Fantasy 15, flaw after flaw after flaw, and I will never say those things aren't there. What I can say is, though, because of franchise loyalty, or fanboyism, as we like to call it, I will, on average, give a Final Fantasy game a higher personal score over games of similar quality, more because of franchise loyalty. We've seen this a lot with Zelda. I feel Zelda has definitely been a game that's benefited in terms of its public image from franchise loyalty or franchise preference, or whatever it is you want to call it. People who just love Zelda and are more likely to play a game that is exactly the same, but it has the Zelda name on it, just because it's Zelda. And I don't feel like my opinions have changed much. It's just the way they're constructed. You know, I won't say, this shit is fucking garbage. What the fuck were they thinking? Those are some dumb motherfuckers. They need to fucking go die in a fire for thinking of this shit. Fire that motherfucker. Get rid of his paycheck. Make him pay for my game. Yeah, you don't do that anymore once you're a streamer. And you look ridiculous when you do. You will always have moments of hyperbole, but those moments of hyperbole come with some reason when you do have them as a streamer. It becomes more about constructing yourself. So instead of saying that incoherent mess of feedback, you go, all right, so what are my problems with the game? And I'll use Zelda as an example, since I've been highly critical of the latest Zelda game, while also praising certain aspects of it on social media. Zelda, the durability system. I don't know what they were thinking when they thought of this, but constantly losing a weapon every 9 to 11 swings is definitely unfun for the first several hours of the game. I'm about 10 hours into the game, and it's still happening, though it is starting to happen on a lower frequency. Nothing's worse than being in the middle of a heated fight and having to stop and change your weapon because it broke while you were in the middle of chaining a combo. See how much better that sounds than that shit was fucking garbage, what the fuck were they thinking? See how much better that sounds? That is generally the change in approach that you have when it comes to that. And yes, you can still, like I said, you can still have moments of hyperbole, moments of anecdotal evidence for certain things, as opposed to factual evidence, which is still somewhat common. But yeah, it's all about the way you word yourself. That's the number one thing that changes when you go from being basically someone who's just on the internet who says things to somebody who other people look at as a person who reviews or influences or helps them make a purchasing decision. All right, so the next question I have is, how comfortable is the Switch Joy-Con themselves? Too small? I have pretty small hands, so the Joy-Con themselves actually feel pretty good in my hand. I honestly think that the Joy-Cons on their own, for me, feel better than having them in this fucking thing. I think this thing is atrocious and is a disgrace to gaming controllers everywhere. It basically is just a dock for the Joy-Con controllers, and honestly, it doesn't feel any better. It's a hunk of light, weak, worthless plastic. And honestly, if you're even going to bother with a fucking controller, this might come with the Switch, but get the Pro controller. The fact that this the Joy-Cons with this thing is $80 and the Pro Controller is $70. It's a bit crazy to me. But I actually think that the Joy-Cons themselves are fairly well done. I've seen some issues with them with other people that I haven't experienced. For example, somebody, I won't name who, they accidentally put this in the wrong way. This is the thing that goes on the side so that you can use them as standalone controllers, and it's a little bit more comfortable. It broke, and now it can't get out, and they need a whole new Joy-Con controller. I've also seen issues with the dock itself. First of all, that dock is a worthless piece of plastic as well, and it's a disgrace to anything claiming to be an excuse to play this as a home console. I'd honestly rather they had come up with any other solution other than what that dock ultimately is. It doesn't even have a built-in Ethernet, which I know the Wii and the Wii U didn't either, but Jesus Christ, it is 2017. Put a goddamn Ethernet on your devices. They're like, no, but it's the age of wireless. It's the dock. I'm not bringing the dock with me when I go places. Put a goddamn Ethernet port on that thing. Anyway, moving on. The Joy-Cons themselves feel good, and it's probably one of the highlights of the console's hardware itself. Alright, since we're on the theme of Switch questions now that I brought that up, I'll just take this one on. This will probably be the last question I take for this week. I'll throw this one in. As someone with a Switch, do you see it right now as a 1 to 2 week purchase with Breath of the Wild being the main release game right now? Are you able to be patient with the future releases? Personally, just buying a Switch for Zelda, I would not recommend it. If you are not looking at the lineup of the Switch and looking at what it has going forward, I personally would not pick it up. The hardware itself is not there yet. The software itself is not there yet. Most things I feel about the Switch's hardware and software are incredibly disappointing. You know, I could understand if I think they honestly should have just completely foregone this whole home dock console thing and I'm looking at it. That's why I'm looking in this direction. Looking at it. They could just, honestly, it should have just been a tablet. It should have just been like, this is our Nintendo branded tablet. This is how you play. It can hook up to a TV. It's already a function that's built into the Switch's controller itself to, like, you know, what's it called? Send a signal to the TV. So, honestly, would have just taken that. I feel like they could have gotten a lot more right. And honestly, if they had built it like a full-on tablet, where it actually has applications built in. From what I understand, they are working on doing that eventually, like Netflix and an internet browser. They could have, honestly, I would have, a Switch over a tablet, I would buy a Switch over a fucking, like, iPad tablet any day if the Switch had some apps that were somewhat similar to what a regular tablet purchase. Honestly, if I was in the tablet industry, I'd be fucking concerned if the Switch had done that, because I personally feel like it would have been a better value over everything. But the fact that it's trying to be a portable device, and you only play games on it. That's it. That's the only thing. And that's fine, because that's what it wants to be. It wants to be a gaming console. But they're going to be adding these things in later anyway, and they're already working on them, which means they released it before those things were done, and it could have been received better if they had just taken the time to release those things before. The dock is a fucking disgrace and a just... Remember when I said don't speak in hyperbole? I'm this upset about how nobody is giving Nintendo problems for this, because a lot of people just give this. Remember franchise loyalty? Everything's coming together right now. Franchise loyalty is, I feel like, just giving, like, people are just excusing things like, it doesn't bother me. It's fine. It's fine if it doesn't bother you. It's fine if you never have a use for it. It doesn't mean it's an acceptable thing to do. You know what I mean? It feels like it doesn't do anything that the other home consoles do as well as it does. Doesn't run games as well. Zelda, its first-party game, when it's in the dock, because it has to upscale the resolution, drops frames. I don't even know where to begin with that problem. I just don't. Moving on. The cost of everything and the lack of anything to be included, other than these Joy-Cons and the controller, is upsetting. And it has no software. 1-2 Switch should not be a separate game. Why is 1-2 Switch a $50 game that has to be bought separately? None of their decisions make sense to me. And I'm like, I've loved Nintendo for so long. The Wii U had some poor decisions. The Wii, I loved the Wii. I used to go to my friend's house and play the Wii all the time. The GameCube, I owned one. I loved that fucking thing. Nintendo 64, loved it. Super Nintendo, loved it. My Game Boy, I played that shit for years after no one was using Game Boy anymore. I fucking love this thing. This thing is not excusable. This thing is not excusable. Just go all the way with the whole portable thing. Somehow get that thing more than 3 hours of battery life, because unless you're on a 1-hour train ride, that's barely even a function. I can't even bring it on my trip to Boston. I'll die in the fucking plane if I don't bring a battery pack with me. I just want this thing to work better. Do everything you do, just do it better, Switch. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Model 2 come out at some point. To ultimately answer the question, I wouldn't buy it in the first 2 weeks just for Zelda. Wait a little bit. They're going to make it better. Fingers crossed. Anyway, on that note, that's going to be the last question for Mondays with Mr. Happy going forward. Videos at the bottom, whatever videos I do have. I don't even know which ones I do have. And thank you, everyone, for watching this week. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the number of questions, the questions I got on Twitch. Everything was quality this week, and you guys got right to the point, unlike me. Anyway, I'm going to spend a little bit more time with the Twitch chat before I sign off for the day. So thank you, everyone, for coming by. I will see you next week for Mondays with Mr. Happy, but it will be late. Keep in mind, Mondays will be late next week because of PAX East. But I'll see you at PAX East, and I'll see you next week. Until then, take care.